So hey guys, this is me Ashik. So in this video we're going to continue creating a to-do list application. So if you have not watched the previous video, just pause the video down here and go back and watch the to-do list part 1. So if you are not subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. So first let's just run our application and let's see what we have in here. So if we go in here, so we have the navigation bar and we have this add to do. If you click on this add to do button, our form is displaying. If you click on the close button, our form's closing. So this is where we stopped in the last video. So in this video let's start with the backend required for this application. So let's first create a models.py. So models.py. So in this file we are going to model our SQL table. So we say from Flask underscore SQL alchemy import SQL alchemy oops, and let's create a database object. So we say db equals SQL alchemy, and let's create a class called to do. It's going to inherit from db.model. So let's create an id column. We say db.column. It's going to be db.integer comma. This is going to be the primary key of our table. So we say primary key equals true, and let's create another column called title. So we say db dot column is going to be db dot string of 20 and nullable equals false. And let me just copy this and paste. So let's create another column called message, where we'll be storing the message of our to do. It's going to be of size 200 and nullable equals false. And we'll also create another column called status, which will denote the status of each to do. It's going to be db.column, db.string of 10 comma nullable equals true. And then by default all of the to do's is going to be pending, so we say default equals pending. Yeah, so let's go into our app.py and let's say from models we import asterisk, and then we'll say db.init app, and then we'll pass in our application. And before that we need to set up a certain configuration values. So we say app.config SQL alchemy database URI equals PostgreSQL :/ my username :password at localhost :5432 / the database name, which is going to be to do list. And then we will also set up another configuration value. So we say app.config, it's going to be SQL alchemy track modifications, we'll set it to false. Since we don't want SQL alchemy to track all of the changes, we'll set it to false. And since we are using the .init app method, we need to run our application using an app context. So we say if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals underscore underscore main underscore underscore, we say, oh oops, sorry for that, pip in shell. Oops, let's just close this. So we say with app context, so we say app.run. So now we need to create our to-do table in the database. So since we are using the init app method, we need to work inside of a view function. So instead of this view function, let's say db.create all to create all of our tables. So our application is still running. So if I go into this index route and if I refresh now, yeah, nothing happens. So our database should have been created by now, sorry, our tables. So we say psql to do list test user. Let's just check whether the database tables were created successfully or not. If I type in \d, yeah, we see our to do table is created. If I do a select star from to do, we have this 4 columns down here, so everything is working fine. So let's delete this. So and the next thing what we need to, let's just close this, and the next thing what we need to do is that we need to get the details of this form in the index route. So before going to that, let's first create a couple of utility functions which we'll be using later in this video. So let's create a function called get to do, which is going to have a parameter of to do id, which is, oops, why is this keep opening here, sorry. So which is going to return a to do. So we say return to do dot query dot filter, and we want to say to do dot id equals to do id dot first to get the first to do. And let's also create another function called get pending to dos, which is going to return all of the pending to dos. So we say return to do dot query dot filter, and you want to select all of the to dos whose status is equal to pending, and we say dot all. Let's also create another function called get completed to dos, which is going to return all of the completed to dos. So let's copy this, and we just want to change the status to completed. Yeah, so we have created a couple of utility functions. So let's go into the index route. Since this route is going to accept a post request, we say methods equals get and post, and if the request dot method, if it is equal to get, we just return this template. So before that, let's just import this request, and so we say import request. We'll also be using redirect, so we'll also import that. And if the method was a post request, we need to get the title and the message in the backend. So we say title equals request dot form dot get title, title, and then the message equals request dot form dot get message, and we need to create a to do object. So we say to do equals to do of title equals title, and then the message equals message, and we say db dot session dot add to do, and we say db dot session dot commit to commit our changes, and then we'll just redirect the user back to the index route. So we say return redirect to the index route. Yeah, so in the index route we need to get all of the pending to dos. So we say to dos equals get pending to dos, and we'll just pass in with the to the index.html. So we say to dos equals to dos, and then the count equals length of to dos. So I guess that should be fine. Let's go into the index.html. So in the index.html, let's first create a div.todo container, which is going to contain all of our elements. So let's first create an if block. So before creating an if, let's first use an h2 which says we have count pending to dos. So count is the variable which we passed into the HTML file, which denotes the number of to dos which are pending. So let's first do an if statement. if the count is not equal to 0, and let's end the if statement by doing an end if, and inside of this we need to loop through the all of the to dos. So we'll create a for loop for to do in to dos. Oops, we will just end this for loop, so we say end for, and for each of these to dos let's create a div dot to do card, and let's create a div dot to do content, and inside of this we are going to have an anchor tag. So the href, let's keep it nowhere for now, and this anchor tag is going to contain to do dot title. So the reason why we are having an anchor tag is that we are only going to show the title in this index.html. When the user clicks on any of the title of this to do, we are going to take the user to another web page where we will display a detailed information of this to do. And let's also create a div.btn box, which is going to have an anchor tag, which says we're going to have two buttons, which one button is to mark the to do as complete, and the other button is to delete the to do. So the href is going to be url for, it's going to be complete to do. We have not created this, we'll create it now. And then we are also going to pass the to do id as a parameter. We say to do dot id, and let's just copy and paste this again. Instead of mark as complete, we are going to say delete to do, and then the delete to do, and then the url is going to be delete to do. So our to do card should work right now. So I guess everything is fine. Yeah, let's go into our application. So let me refresh this. Yeah, so now we have 0 pending to dos. So now if I try to let's try to add a to do. So we say dinner with friend, and then for the message let's give we have a dinner with my friend at 8 p.m. today. 8 p.m. today. So let's try to submit this to do. Yeah. Oh. So we have not created the complete to dos and the delete to do. That's why it's showing up an error. So let's first. So let's just create the both of these URLs. So that's not a big deal. So let's say at app.route, it's going to be slash to do slash complete, and it's going to take a integer to do id. Let's create a function called complete to do, which is going to take the to do id as a parameter to this view function. So we say to do equals get to do, is pass the to do id. If the to do is none, which will be in case if the user manually goes into this search box and types this URL. So we just want to make sure that the to do id is valid. So we say return and h1, which says invalid to do id. Let's close this h1, and if the to do id was a valid to do id, we say we just change the status of this to do to completed. So we say to do dot status equals completed, and we say db dot session dot commit to commit our changes, and then we return the user to the index route again. And for this delete to do, let me just copy the same route. It's going, for the most part it's going to be the same. We just wanted to change this to delete. Let's change this function to delete to do, and instead of changing the status we want to delete the to do. So we say db dot session dot delete to do. So we're again committing, we are redirecting to the index route. I guess this should work right now. So let's try running the refreshing. Yeah, so now our to do is added. Now we see that we have a to do dinner with friend. So before moving on, I just wanted to we just wanted to style this to dos. So right now this is not really great. Let's go into our index.css. Now index.css, let's start the css. I'm just going to do this pretty fast because in the last video we spent a lot of time in just styling our application. So we say margin dash top of 2 rems, width of 80%, and then the margin of auto, and then for the to do container we want to display it as flex direction column, and then for the dot to do dash card we want to display it as flex align items center and justify content space around, and let's also give a padding of 1.5 rems. Let's give it a border of 0.8 pixels, solid DDD, border dash radius of 8 pixels, and it should have a margin dash top of 1 rem, and for the to do content and for the anchor tag inside of this to do content, let's just set the text decoration to none, and let's set the font size to 1.3 rems, and for the btn box you want to display it also as flex, then the flex direction it's going to be column, and then justify content it's going to be space around, and align items it's going to be center. And before moving on, let me give an id to each of these buttons. So we say id equals complete, and then this should also be a type of button. I forgot to do that, type of button, and then let me just copy this, let's paste it here, and then this id it's going to be delete. So the index dot css, for the anchor tag inside of the btn box we want to display the text color as fff, and let's also give it a padding of 0.8 rems, and for the complete button we want to give it a background color of 00ff00. Yeah, we are giving it a green color just to style this. And for the delete button, let's give a background color of ff0000. So just to make this as a red button, I guess the styling it's enough for now. Let's just set the font size to be 1 rem. Let's go back here and refresh. Yeah, so let's just set the text decoration to none, and let's also give this a margin top since both of these buttons are right now kind of joined together. So let's give it a margin top of 10 pixels, and let's give it a border dash radius of 10 pixels. So if I refresh it, yeah, so now it's looking really great, I should say. So before moving on further in this video, let me first create a bunch of to-dos so that we can use it to display all of this functionality. So I'm just going to fast forward creating this to-do. So yeah, so now we have 5 to-dos down here. So if I just click on this delete to-do button, it should delete this to-do. Let's click on this delete to-do. So yeah, so now we have 4 pending to-dos. If you want, I can also mark to-do as complete. Let's mark this to-do as complete. And I cannot mark this YouTube video because this is going to be the next video. So let's also mark this payable as complete. So now I think if I go click on this complete link in the navigation bar, it should show us all of the completed to-dos, but we have not done this now. So let's go back into our HTML file, and then let me open the layout.html, and then for the complete, it's going to be URL for completed to-dos. Then it's going to this index route, and let's just copy this because we are just going, it's just going to be the same. Both the pending to-dos and the completed to-dos, they are almost the same, and it should have been slash to-do slash completed, and this is only going to take a get request. So let's remove this, and let's name this function as completed to-dos, and let's also remove this get. So let me indent this, and instead of getting the pending to-dos, we want to get the completed to-dos. So we say get completed to-dos, and then let's return a completed.html. So let's create the completed.html in the templates directory. So we say completed.html, and let's just go into this index and copy all of this. Let's just copy all these blocks here, and then the title, it's going to be completed to-dos, and then let's also copy this from this to-do container. Let's copy this until this block. Let me paste. Yeah, let's indent. mm, I guess only this has to be indented. Let's have this inside of this to-do container, and the only thing which is going to change in the completed to-do web page is that we cannot mark this to-do as complete. Since the to-do is already completed, we cannot mark it as complete. Let's remove this, and we just wanted to change this to count completed to-dos. Yeah, I guess that's it for the completed to-dos. Let's refresh this, and let's go into this completed URL. This should work, let's hope. Yeah, so now we see that we have two completed to-dos which we just completed now, and even from here we can delete this to-do. Let's try deleting this to-do. Yeah, so now we have two pending to-dos. If we go into completed, we only have one completed to-dos since we deleted that. And then one final thing which I would like to do is that when the user clicks on this to-do title button, we want to take the user into a separate web page where we can show a detailed information of this to do. Let's first set the href to URL for to do, and then the target, it's going to be underscore blank, since we want this to be in a new web page. So let's copy this. Let's go into the index.html. Where is the to do title? Yep, here it is. Oh, come on. Yeah. So now let's create a route called to do. So we say at app.route to be slash to do slash integer colon to do id. Then let's define a function called to do, which is going to take a to do id. And we again wanted to do the same validation. We make sure that the to do exists. Yeah. And if the to do exists, we want to return render template. Let's return a to do.html, and let's pass in this to do object. We say to do equals to do. So let me close all of these unwanted files, go back. Yeah, please go, please go. Let me create the to do.html. We are not going to extend any template, so let's me just plus exclamation, and then the title, it's going to be to do hash, and then the to do.id, which will give us the id of this to do. And let's create a div.todo-card, and inside of this let's create a p tag. Let's create a strong tag which says title, and then the title is going to be to do dot title, and let's just copy and paste this a couple of times. This is for the message, this is for the status. It's going to be message, and it's going to be to do dot message, and this is for the status, which is going to be to do dot status. Yeah. And instead of this card, we also wanted to show the id of this to do, so we say to do number to do dot id. So let's first style this. Let's just do some basic styling, we'll not do a lot in this. For the to do card position, it's going to be absolute, and from top 50%, from left 50%, and transform translate minus 50%, comma minus 50%. Just saw this in Stack Overflow. So by using this trick, we can center any div in a window. So let's give this a border of 1 pixel solid DDD. The border dash radius, it's going to be 8 pixels, and let's give it a padding of 2 rems. Then the font size, it's going to be 1.2 rems. Yeah, so that should do this for now. Let's try refreshing it. Where could not build URL endpoint for to do. So one second, I forgot to build the URL endpoint for to do. So let's go into this index, and we should also pass in the to do id as a parameter. So we say to do id equals to do dot id. Then should also do that in the completed. So we say to do id equals to do dot id. So now this will work. So if I click on this dinner with friend, it should show me a detailed info of this to do. So see, now I see that this to do has an ID of number 1. The title is dinner with friend, and we have a message. And why is the status? Yeah, the status of this to do is still pending. So I actually got confused in a minute. So let's mark this as complete. Let's also mark this YouTube video. Oh, this should have been completed. This is going to be our next video. So let's go into this completed tab, and then if I click on this payable, so yeah, this to do, and we have the title, we have the message, and we have the status as completed. So even from here I can delete this to do. Let's go to completed and also delete this to do. So now we only have one pending to do's, which we need to do as the next video. So let's keep this for now. And I guess that's it for this to-do list application. So we have just come across a lot of things, and I would actually suggest you guys to do a lot more work in this application. There is still a whole bunch of things which can be implemented in this application. For example, you can just give priorities to each of these to-dos, and you can display them based on their priorities, and you can also use filters to filter these results. There is still a whole bunch of things which can be implemented in this to-do application. I definitely recommend you guys to spend some time in this application. And if you actually like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, as it actually motivates me to frequently upload videos. And if you are not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and join us in the Flask tour. And that's it for now. I'm going to wrap things up here. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you.